Hi, I'm Carol Osick. I'm a guidance counselor at West Morris Central High School, and I am here with Lucia Garibou, Assistant Director of Admissions at Susquehanna University in Pennsylvania, and she's going to tell us all about all the exciting things at her school. So welcome.
Thank
Um,
you.
So if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and the school you represent, and what's your favorite aspect of Susquehanna?
Oh, absolutely. So, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Like you said, my name is Lucia. I'm Assistant Director of Admission at Susquehanna University, and I'm also an alumna of Susquehanna. So, I graduated from here in 2018. I studied creative writing and Italian, but found a love for working with students and student affairs in higher education while I was here. And so, of course, after I graduated, after a few years in public service with FEMA and AmeriCorps, I had to come back home to Susquehanna. And it's been such a pleasure working with students from my native New Jersey, in northern New Jersey especially, and, showing them all about this community that means so much to me. And I think that community piece is really what sticks out to me about Susquehanna. It is the first place I ever truly felt at home, like I was connecting with, my people. And so it was just an incredibly supportive and empowering environment to be in. I don't think I would be doing the job I'm doing today, going out and talking to people and meeting new people all the time, without the experiences that I had at Susquehanna and the mentors and supporters who were like, hey, like, no, you can do this, like, apply for this opportunity, go out for this leadership experience. And I am forever grateful for that. And so having a job where I'm connecting students to that incredibly empowering community is just a dream come true.
Okay, awesome. Tell us about the campus culture, like is sports big, Greek life?
Yeah, so Susquehanna is an incredibly engaged community, which is so beautiful. So we've got about 2,300 students. About half of them are from Pennsylvania, half are from really everywhere else, including over 30 different states and 30 different countries. I would say New Jersey's probably taken that number 2 spot for the number of students we get from different states. But again, incredibly engaged community. So we have over 150 different student clubs and organizations that students can be a part of. And that is everywhere from academic clubs like Neuroscience Club to faith-based like Hillel and InterVarsity to special interests like Karaoke Club, Cryptocurrency Club is the newest one on campus, Beekeeping Club, and so many more. And we always tell students that it's overwhelming. We've got, activities fairs and people who can help our students kind of find where that community is for them within the larger Susquehanna community, as well as leading them to, if they want to start their own club and organization, it's super easy for them to go about and do that and get funding for it through our Student Government Association. And then in addition to all of those clubs and organizations, we do also have Greek life. So we have 11 social fraternities and sororities, and that includes 2 Divine Nine organizations as well. Divine Nine organizations are Greek organizations that are historically Black founded. And so at our campus, we have Sigma Gamma Rho and Phi Beta Sigma, which are absolutely incredible. Again, those 11 other social fraternities and sororities, and then 1 co-ed service fraternity. And it is a pretty exemplary Greek community, so they're very focused on scholarship, academics, leadership as well. Some of my first leadership positions at Susquehanna were through my Greek organization. But we understand that it's not for everyone. Every student has a different experience at Susquehanna. Every student is engaged in different things and has different passions. So if students want to do Greek life, they absolutely can. About 20% of our students do Greek life, but absolutely not required or necessary for students. They have a lot of opportunity elsewhere as well. And one of those other opportunities is in our sports programs, right? So Susquehanna is a Division III school in the NCAA, and we have 23 varsity teams. So some of those top ones include football. Our football team just joined the Landmark Conference, which is what most of the other sports at our school participate in that conference, with the exception of golf, which is in the Empire 8. And then you have, soccer, basketball, track and field, and cross country. These are all super, super awesome programs at Susquehanna, and they've all won conference championships in the past few years. Last year, our athletics actually also won the President's Cup. So it is an award, a cup that goes to a school in the landmark conference that has won the most conference championships. It's a point-based systems, and Susquehanna took that home last year for a variety of different conference championships that we won, which is pretty incredible. And then, outside of that, we have, a bustling community full of events. So we have, a student-run coffee house called Charlie's Coffee House that students can hang out at. We've got concerts that include past artists like Snoop Dogg, Nick Jonas, Dan and Shay. Young Gravy was here in April, so the students love that. There really is always something to do, and there's something for everyone.
Okay, cool. What are some of the top majors at your school?
Yeah, so a few right off the top of my head. What I think is awesome about a liberal arts school like Susquehanna is that there's a lot of depth in terms of, and breadth in terms of the popular majors here. So you'll really find them everywhere. So I'll say one of our most popular schools is our Sigmund Weiss School of Business. So business majors, including, management, accounting is very popular, economics, data science. And then we have two brand new majors in our School of Business, and that is entrepreneurship and corporate innovation and real estate. So these are in response to, students like the students at West Morris Central who have said, hey, I want to study entrepreneurship. I want to be a realtor. And so we created these programs for those students, which is pretty awesome. But in general, our School of Business is AACSB accredited, which is an accreditation awarded to only about 5% of business schools worldwide. And we are one of the only small liberal arts schools in the United States with a business school with this distinction, which is pretty awesome. Students in that program are also guaranteed an international internship that they can do over the summer or winter or for a semester abroad in London with our business school. And their sophomore year, they can actually get certified in working with Bloomberg terminals, which is the kind of technology that is used on the New York Stock Exchange and Wall Street. So they can really hit the ground running with careers in that area if that's what they want to do, or just have that in their back pocket in case they end up switching careers down the line and would be in a career using that technology. So business, always a very popular option at Susquehanna. And kind of on the other end of the spectrum there, you have creative writing. About 1 in 12 students at Susquehanna is a creative writing major. It is a very strong program. It has its own summer program as well for students who are interested over the summer and learning a bit more about creative writing, as well as seeing what it's like to live on a college campus. The classes are workshop-based, and they're being taught by professors who are published and actively writing in those areas and actively publishing in those areas. So it's very hands-on. You're going to be in a workshop class your very first semester, which is great. And then kind of the twin to that program is publishing and editing. We have an incredibly large publishing and editing major and program for the size of our school, which is great. We have a whole suite dedicated to our publishing and editing majors, outfitted with all the technology that they'll need to create their own chapbooks, to publish small press literary magazines, to analyze current publications, and take classes about the publishing industry in general. A lot of our students from that program go on to the Columbia Publishing course, which is a highly competitive summer course held at Columbia University for those interested in getting involved in the publishing world, and then to go on to work at some of the big 4 publishing houses as well, which is pretty awesome. And then finally, we've done, a bit of humanities, a bit of business, and then you have some of our science programs, which are pretty incredible as well. And the one that always stands out for me is our environmental science program, which goes Earth and Environmental Sciences and Ecology. So Susquehanna University sits right along this beautiful Susquehanna River. We're about a mile from the river. And so it is truly an amazing place, an amazing river valley that students can explore, a pretty unique ecology that is important to things like the Chesapeake Bay. We're one of the largest tributary rivers to the Chesapeake Bay. So students interested in environmental science can take advantage of an 87-acre on-campus field station that we have, complete with a freshwater research institute that has wet labs and classrooms and representatives of the Chesapeake Bay Conservatory, a nonprofit who work out of that space full-time as well. And then they can also, of course, take advantage of the Susquehanna River to go out and do research and then bring that back to campus to study it. So all pretty incredible programs at Susquehanna that I think our students really enjoy some of the niche programs and opportunities that they get to experience here that they might not get to experience elsewhere.
Okay, great. What about financial? We always hear a lot about sticker price versus actual price. What can you tell us about tuition and the typical financial aid packages?
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, we understand that financial aid and finances in general are such a big part of a student's decision. And we do our best to be as transparent as possible about that and give students all of the information that they're going to need, right? And so the sticker price, we'll say, for Susquehanna University is for this current year, 73,100. And that is a big number, of course. And I know that often startles students. I know it startled me and my mom when I was first looking at Susquehanna. So as someone who is in the shoes of students looking at that price and wondering how I could afford it, I do my absolute best. I meet with students. I have conversations with students and their families about all of this. So while that is the sticker price, I'll say that the average family pays closer to about $26,800 per year. And there are a couple of different ways that we get students down from 73,000 to around 26,000 on average. And the first part of that is merit scholarships. So we give pretty generous merit scholarships to students who are admitted to the university. There's no additional application. They just need to apply and be accepted in order to be considered for those. And for this current academic year, that range is $36,000 to $43,000 per year. So students coming in and applying with a strong academic record could receive a scholarship of up to $43,000 per year. Again, renewable per year. There's no minimum GPA requirement. And if students ever get to that point where we're having conversations about merit scholarship moving forward, they will be, in contact with teachers and professors and mentors long before that ever happens. We want to make sure that students are thriving at Susquehanna and receiving the help that they need. And that includes financially as well. And then, so in addition to that, you have, of course, the FAFSA, and that is the free application for federal student aid. We use the FAFSA exclusively to see if students qualify for any additional need-based aid, whether that be from the institution or any federal aid or loans as well. I know that this year the FAFSA is coming out in December, so we will try to have financial aid packages out to students in January or February. Once we kind of get rolling with those aid packages, it's a turnaround time of about 3 days for students once they file the FAFSA if they've been admitted. So we try to get that information out pretty quickly to students once the FAFSAs are in and getting processed. And in addition to that, the actual financial aid package that students will receive that outlines all of their aid, their merit, a work study if possible. Everything is on there. There are no hidden fees. There's no extra costs. You'll see tuition, fees, housing, and meals. And that is all of the costs that students need to worry about that are directly billed from the university. And then, of course, they'll see their applied merit scholarship, any additional aid, loans, and things like that. We always encourage students to take those federal loans, the subsidized and unsubsidized, if they qualify for them, because they're pretty easy starter loans. So if students are looking to build up their credit and receive some of that assistance, we highly encourage families take that. But I always say if students have, especially with the new FAFSA, questions, or they love Susquehanna, but the current financial aid package doesn't work for them, to come and talk to us. Me and my fellow admission counselors, as well as our colleagues in student financial services, are always happy to have those conversations with families to see how we can make Susquehanna work for them.
Okay, great. What type of student do you typically accept? Like test scores, GPA, like what are you looking for?
Yeah, so I'll give the kind of like the average and then talk a bit more about the application process. So this past year, the average GPA was about a 3.8. ACT was about a 27, and the SAT was about a 1230. So I know we'll talk a bit about test scores, but in general, we're looking for students who are engaged. We love seeing students who have visited Susquehanna, who have some of that demonstrated interest, we call it. But we do a holistic application review. So we are not only looking at grades, but the types of classes taken. We know that some students are still seeing impacts on their transcript due to COVID. This senior year's class may have started completely virtual. And so we do take all of that into account. And if there is ever anything a student has maybe some clarifying comments on, or they're like, hey, I didn't do the best in my 10th grade year and this is why, they can include that in their applications. They can email that to us or tell that to me. And that's always super helpful to understand and have that context as well. We look at letters of recommendation, some activities. So we're really trying to look at the student as a whole, not just reducing them down to numbers.
Are you guys still test optional?
Yeah, so we've been test optional since the 1990s.
Oh, wow.
So I always tell students that's why you see some slightly higher test scores as our averages, because often the test scores that we're receiving are a bit higher. And if students ever have a question about oh, I got this score, should I submit it? They can absolutely let me know, and I will counsel them as best I can about whether or not I think that will be helpful or harmful to their application. But I will say that whatever a test score a student submits, it will never negatively impact their financial aid. A stronger score can definitely help their financial aid, but if a score that's submitted would bring down their financial aid package, we don't consider it.
Okay. We're an IB World School. We have the IB diploma. We have the IB career program. Does IB affect a student's admission? Do you feel that IB students have an advantage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. I love working with IB schools. I do international as well. So I see a lot of students coming in with the IB curriculum. What that really helps with is in terms of the rigor of the classes that we're looking at, right? So it's not just the grades that students get in those classes, it's the, how hard that class might be. Is it a challenging class for them? Are they getting out and trying something new? So that definitely helps when we're looking at the rigor of classes, understanding that the IB curriculum in whatever form is a more rigorous program. And then those students might also be interested in our honors program if they end up coming to Susquehanna University. We have a sophomore colloquium as a part of our honors program that is very similar to the IB program. So students might find kind of a second home for their IB experience in the honors program at Susquehanna as well.
Okay. What about the essay? How important is that essay in the admissions process?
Yeah. So this is still relatively new. I believe this was implemented during COVID, and we have continued on with it, that we are essay optional. And when I say optional, I mean truly optional. A student will never receive a less favorable review of their application if they choose to go essay optional. We love seeing them. We love using them as a tool to learn more about the students, see what their passions are, their interests are, and maybe how that aligns with the Susquehanna community. So sometimes I read an essay and I'm like, wow, I can picture this student, an orientation team or thriving in a graphic design lab. But if a student chooses not to submit an essay, that is absolutely okay. We want to make sure that students feel comfortable and confident in the application that they're submitting to us. And sometimes that just doesn't include writing. That is a skill that they will develop more in college in our writing intensive courses as a part of our central curriculum. So I'm looking more for content than anything else when a student does submit an essay to me.
Okay. And how can a student make themselves stand out in the admission process?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing is, having conversations with the counselors or visiting campus. I think that visiting campus in general is awesome for students. It gives you a great feel. If students are able to, we have different events. We have 2 open houses coming up on September 23rd and October 28th that students can register for. And, these are great opportunities, not only for the student to get to know campus a little more, but for us to get to know the student more. So whether that is, a visit to campus or FaceTime with me at a fair or reaching out to grab coffee while I'm in the area, being able to get to know the student and put a face to the name is so very helpful. So then I'm going back and reviewing the application. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Jane. We met at the Morris Consortium at West Morris Central, and we talked about her love of theater and film. And that's just so helpful for me to put that face to that name and to be able to make those connections for the students.
Okay, and one final question. If you could offer one piece of advice to a student in their college search process, what would it be?
Oh my goodness, this is my favorite question. So, because I remember what it's like to be, though it was a few years ago at this point, to be a student in the process and, just feeling like, oh my gosh, I want a school to like me so bad, And I think what students sometimes need to be reminded of, and my piece of advice is that, as students, you have power in this process and a lot more than you think. Colleges want you just as badly as you want to go to college, right? So never be afraid to advocate for yourself, to use that power that you do have to say, hey, okay, maybe financial aid isn't as great as I would like it to be, but I want to go here so bad. Have those conversations, ask about if there's an appeal process, additional scholarship opportunities, and things like that, Look at what's important to you and then ask that of the colleges that you're applying to. College is a service. They are servicing you as the student. So never be afraid to advocate for what you need out of that experience in the application process and beyond, of course. This is an investment in your future. So you want to make sure that it has everything that you are going to need in order to feel supported and thrive and really be prepared to take that next step.
All right, great. Yeah, thank you so much. You reinforced like a lot of what we've talked about. So, and we always have students interested in Susquehanna. So
awesome. I'm excited to connect with them again this year.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.